Constitution and its classification. A constitution is a set of fundamental principles or established precedents according to which a state or other organization is governed. It symbolizes the country's freedom and independence. Classification as to form and as to manner of amending. There are two classifications as to form, written and unwritten. Constitution is written when it is given a definite written form at a particular time, usually by a duly constituted authority. On the other hand, constitution is unwritten if it is entirely product of political evolution, consisting largely of a mass of customs, usages, and judicial character, usually bearing different dates. Note that no constitution is entirely written or unwritten. Classification as to manner of amending. A constitution can be classified as a rigid inelastic or flexible elastic. Rigid inelastic constitution is regarded as a document of a special sanctity. Classification as to manner of amending. A constitution can be classified as rigid or inelastic, or flexible or inelastic. Rigid and elastic constitution is regarded as a document of special sanctity which cannot be amended or altered except by some special machinery. Flexible or elastic constitution is when the document itself possesses no higher legal authority than ordinary laws and may be altered in the same way as other laws. These are the three characteristics of good constitution. Should be brief, broad, and definite.
The 1897 constitutions of Biak na Bato, shortest enacted constitutions in the Philippines. The constitutions of Biak na Bato was provisionary constitutions of the Philippine Republic during the Philippine Revolutions and was promulgated by the Philippine Revolutionary Government on November 1, 1897, and it was written by Isabelo Artaco and Felix Spur. When we say provisionary, it means that this was pansamantalang constitution lamang ng Philippine Republic noong kapanahunan ng Philippine Revolutions, and it was borrowed from Cuba and was written by here Isabelo Artaco and Felix Spur. It is a Spanish and later on it was translated into Tagalog, so it means na itong Biak na Bato ay kapareho o nakabase sa Cuba constitutions. Republic of Biak na Bato or Republica de Biak na Bato was established during a meeting held at Biak na Bato in which Republic and its constitutions was known after a barrio in town of San Miguel de Mayumo in Bulacan. So here is the preamble of Biak na Bato constitutions. The separations of the Philippines from Spanish monarchy and their formation into an independent state with its own government called the Philippine Republic has been the end sought by the revolutions in the existing war, began on 24th of August 1896, and therefore, in its name and by the power delegated by the Filipino people, interpreting faithfully their desires and ambitions, we, the representatives of the revolution, in a meeting at Biak na Bato, November 1, 1897, unanimously adopt the following articles for the constitutions of the state. So this preamble of Biak na Bato constitutions, it was provided for the establishments of the Supreme Councils that would serve as the highest governing body of the Republic. And it also outlined certain basic human rights, such as the freedom of religion, freedom of press, and the right to education.
The Malolos Constitution was signed on January 21, 1899 by the Malolos Congress. It replaced the Biak na Bato Constitution after the Philippines declared its independence on June 12, 1898. This constitution lasted until March 23, 1901. It was written by Filipino leaders mainly Felipe Calderon and Felipe Bencamino. The Malolos Constitution declared the Philippines independence in basic right of Filipinos. It also made sure that the church and state would be separate, which was big deal at the time. It created a government with a president and a legislative body called Assembly of Representatives. This was the first semi-presidential republic in Asia. This constitution was a huge step for Filipino because it was the first political document written by Filipinos themselves. It showed that the Philippines was moving toward Independence Day in self-government.
The Philippine Organic Act of 1902, also known as the Philippine Bill of 1902 or Batas Cooper, was a law passed by the United States Congress that established a temporary civil government in the Philippines. American forces surpassed a Filipino independence movement, and Congress passed the Philippines Organic Act to establish civilian control. Under the Treaty of Paris that ended the Spanish-American War, the United States purchased the Philippines from Spain. The Philippines Autonomy Act of 1916, also known as the Jones Act, was a law that outlined the United States' plan to give up sovereignty over the Philippine Islands. The act was signed in 1916 and remained effect until 1934, when it was replaced by Tyndall-McDuffie Act. The Jones Act also reserved certain privilege for the United States to protect its interests and the sovereign rights. The United States government would determine when independence would be granted, and it would only be granted when a stable government could be established. The U.S. statute that provided for the Philippine independence to take effect on July 4, 1946, after a 10-year transitional period of Commonwealth government. The bill was signed by the U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt on March 24, 1934, and was sent to the Philippine Senate for approval. The Tyndall-McDuffie Act, officially the Philippines Independence Act, is an act of Congress that established the process of the Philippines, then the American territory, to become an independent country after 10 years transition period. Under the Act of 1935, Constitution of the Philippines was written in the Commonwealth of the Philippines was established. With the first directly elected President of the Philippines, it also established limitations on Filipino immigrations on the United States.
1935 Philippine Constitution, the Constitution of Commonwealth Government, and the Third Republic. The 1935 Philippine Constitution was created under the Tyndall-McDuffie Act of 1934, allowing the Philippines to form a Commonwealth government under U.S. sovereignty. Tyndall-McDuffie Act, or also called the Philippine Independence Act, yung law po na ito is allowed for the creation of a Philippine Commonwealth, a semi-autonomous government. Pag sinabi po natin autonomous government, ito po yung gobyerno na may kalayaan o kakayahang magdesisyon pero may mga bagay pa rin na nasa kontrol ng ibang bansa, gaya po ng US. The goal was to prepare the Philippines for the full and real independence from the United States. So ang goal po ng Tyndall-McDuffie Act and 1935 Constitution was to give the Philippines a transition period toward complete independence. Nakasaad po na yung transition is naglast for 10 years and the US would continue to have control over certain areas. It was on July 4, 1946. The Constitution was drafted in 1934 and was in operation during the Commonwealth era, 1935 to 1946, until the Third Republic 1946 to 1948. Ang Constitution is pinagtibay noong 1935 and it was used to gain independence noong 1946. So the Constitution continued to be in force hanggang sa makagawa na ng bago around 1947 to 1948. This is the start of the Third Republic. During the Commonwealth period, The form of government had a presidential system with a unicameral National Assembly. Later, the bicameral Congress was created by an amendment. The government adopted a presidential system similar to the United States, where executive power was vested in the president. Initially, the legislature was structured as a unicameral National Assembly. However, an amendment to the 1935 Constitution later restructured the legislature, establishing a bicameral Congress with the Senate and House of Representatives, promoting a more balanced system of lawmaking. Ang pinagkaiba po ng unicameral and bicameral is, yung sa unicameral po is, iisang kapulungan lang ang gumagawa ng mga batas. Samantalang sa bicameral po is, dalawang kapulungan ang gumagawa ng mga batas. At ang ito ay ang upper house or Senate to Senado, lower house or yung mga House of Representatives. During the Republic, starting July 4, 1946, the Constitution continued to be in operation after the Philippine independence was granted. After the Philippines gained independence from the United States, the 1935 Constitution remained in effect, ensuring continuity in governance. This period marked the country's assertion of sovereignty while maintaining its constitutional framework. Amendments in 1940 and 1947 provided for the provision of the parity rights, granting equal economic rights to Americans and Filipinos over natural resources. These amendments were significant as they granted parity rights, which provided equal economic privileges to Americans and Filipinos. This meant both groups had the same access to the country's natural resources and business opportunities. These provisions were part of agreements to maintain strong economic ties with the United States post-independence, though they sparked debates on national sovereignty and economic independence.
1943 Philippine Constitution, the Constitution of Japanese-controlled Second Philippine Republic. In 1943, Philippine Constitution was born out of Japan's occupation of the Philippines during World War II. After attacking Pearl Harbor, Japanese forces quickly took control of major areas in the Philippines, leading to the establishment of the Second Philippine Republic, touted as an independent Asian republic. This new government was led by President Jose P. Laurel, appointed by the Japanese military. The 1943 Constitution was formally declared by the Preparatory Committee for Philippine Independence. However, this constitution was not recognized by the United States or the exiled Commonwealth government, rendering its legitimacy questionable. The Second Philippine Republic's existence was short-lived as it was dissolved following Japan's defeat in World War II. Interestingly, the Philippines has had several constitutions since gaining independence in 1898, including the Malolos Constitution, the 1935 Constitution, the 1973 Constitution, the 1986 Freedom Constitution, and the current 1987 Constitution. Each of these constitutions reflects the country's complex history and its struggles for sovereignty.
The 1973 Philippine Constitution. It was created during President Ferdinand Marcos Sr.'s martial law regime. It was promulgated in 1973 after martial law was declared in 1972, replacing the 1935 Constitution following a constitutional convention in 1971. It served as the organic law of the Philippine Republic from 1973 to 1986. The Constitution established a unicameral legislature with members elected for 6-year terms. The President, elected by the National Assembly for a 6-year term, was mainly a ceremonial head of state. The executive power was exercised by a prime minister who was the head of government and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Amendments. 1976 Amendment created the interim Batasang Pambansa and allowed the President to legislate during emergencies. 1980 Amendment extended the judiciary retirement age to 70. 1981 Amendment restored the semi-presidential system, allowing for the direct election of the President and re-established a Prime Minister. 1984 Amendment abolished the Executive Committee and restored the Vice President position.
1986 Freedom Constitution, Provisional Constitution of the Post-EDSA I Revolutionary Government. Ang 1986 Freedom Constitution ay pansamantalang konstitusyon na ipinatupad ni Pangulong Corazon Aquino matapos ang People Power Revolution na nagpabagsak kay Ferdinand Marcos. Nagbigay sa kanya ng kapangyarihang muling ayusin ang pamahalaan at tanggalin ang mga opisyal mula sa nakaraang rehimen. Layunin nitong ibalik ang demokrasya, protektahan ang karapatang pantao at ihanda ang Pilipinas para sa isang bagong permanenteng konstitusyon. Number 1. By February 1986, snap election was held declaring Ferdinand Marcos as the winner. Ang snap election ay isang eleksyon na tinawag ng mas maaga kaysa sa inasahan. Noong February 1986, ipinatawag ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos ang ganitong uri ng eleksyon. Ayon sa opisyal na resulta, si Marcos ang nanalo. Ngunit marami ang naniniwala na ang resulta ay sinabotahe. Number 2. Corazon Aquino and her supporters claimed massive cheating and refused to accept the results, leading to calls for civil disobedience. Si Corazon Aquino at ang kanyang mga taga-suporta ay naniniwalang dinaya ang eleksyon. Inakusahan nila ang malawakang pandaraya ang kampo ni Marcos, kaya't hindi nila tinanggap ang resulta at hinimok ang mga tao na maglunsod ng civil disobedience o mapayapang pagtutol bilang sa anyo ng protesta. Number 3. Juan Ponce Enrile and Fidel Ramos staged a coup d'etat resulting in the EDSA People Power Revolution that ousted Marcos. Sina Juan Ponce Enrile at Ministro ng Depensa at Fidel Ramos na Deputy Chief of Staff, dalawa sa mataas na opisyal sa administrasyong ni Marcos, ay tumutol sa kanya. Sinubukan nilang patalsikin si Marcos sa pamamagitan ng coup o marahas na pagpapatalsik sa gobyerno. Nagdulot ito ng EDSA People Power Revolution, isang mapayapang pag-aaklas ng pagpatalsik kay Marcos at nagdulot ng kanyang pag-alis sa bansa. Number 4. Corazon Aquino was installed as President and issued Proclamation Number 3 on March 23, 1986, establishing a provisional constitution known as the Freedom Constitution. Matapos umalis ni Marcos, nanumpa si Corazon Aquino bilang bagong Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Noong Marso 23, 1986, inalabas niya ang Proklamasyon 3 na nagtatag ng Freedom Constitution. Ang pansamantalang konstitusyong ito ay itinakdang maging gabay sa pamamahala ng bansa habang naghahanda ng bagong permanenteng konstitusyon. The Provisional Constitution maintained some elements of 1973 constitutions but allowed for the reorganization of government. Bagamat pansamantala lamang, pinatili ng Freedom Constitution ang ilang bahagi ng 1973 Constitution na pinatupad sa ilalim ni Marcos. Subalit, binigyan din ito ni Aquino at ang kanyang administrasyon ng kapangyarihang muling ayusin ang gobyerno ayon sa pangangailangan. And it granted Aquino's powers to remove officials, appoint a commission to draft a new constitution, oversee the transition to a new formal constitution. Ang mga kapangyarihang ito ay naglalayong ibalik ang demokrasya at baguhin ang sistemang pampolitika matapos ang pagtatapos ng pamumuno ni Marcos. The Provisional Constitution emphasized restoration of democracy, pagbibigay kapangyarihan sa mga tao at pagpapanumbalik ng mga prosesong demokratiko matapos ang pamamahala ng otoridad. Protection of basic human rights, pagsisiguro sa mga karapatan ng mamamayan upang itaguyod ang katarungan at pagkakapantay-pantay. Eradication of graft and corruptions, pagtugon sa katiwalaan upang makabuo ng tiwala sa mga institusyong gobyerno. Civilian authority over the military, pagtiyak na ang militar ay nasa ilalim ng sibil na otoridad upang suportahan ang demokratikong pamamahala. Rebuilding public trust in government, pagtulong sa tiwala ng mga mamamayan sa gobyerno upang hikayatin ang mga aktibong pakikilahok sa demokrasya. The Preamble of Proclamation No. 3 underscores the people's extraordinary mandate to restructure the government and ensure human rights, freedoms during the transition to a new constitutions. Sinasabi dito na ang preamble ng Proclamation No. 3 ay nagbigay diin sa kapangyarihan ng mga tao na baguhin ang pamahalaan at tiyakin ang karapatang pantao at kalayaan sa paglipat sa bagong konstitusyon.
The 1987 Philippine Constitution, the prevailing Philippine 300 Constitution bearing the shadows of Marcos regime. On April 23, 1986, President Corazon Aquino issued Proclamation No. 9, which created a Constitution Commission, CONCOM, consisting of 48 appointed commissioners. These commissioners came from diverse backgrounds, including former House of Representatives member, Supreme Court Justice, a Roman Catholic bishops, and political activists who opposed the Marcos regime. Cecilia Monson Palma, a former Associate Chief Justice, was elected as the Commission's president. The final draft of the 1987 Constitution was completed on October 12, 1986, and presented to President Aquino. Proclamation No. 58 declared that Constitution effective on February 11, 1987, although the Supreme Court later ruled that the official ratification date was February 2, 1987, when the people voted in favor of it. The 1987 Constitution has been in effect since 1987 during the presidencies of Corazon Aquino, 1986 to 1992, Fidel Ramos, 1992 to 1998, Joseph Estrada, 1998 to 2001, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, 2001 to 2010, Benigno Aquino III, 2010 to 2016, Rodrigo Duterte, 2016 and present. Preamble. We, the sovereign Filipino people, imploring the aid of Almighty God in order to build a just and human society and establish a government that shall embody our ideas and aspirations, promote the common good, conserve and develop our patrimony, and secure to ourselves and our posterity the blessing of independence and democracy under the rule of law and regime, the truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace, do ordain and promulgate this Constitution.
In 1995, National Security Council Secretary Jose Almonte drafted a constitution, but it was exposed to the media and never progressed. In 1995, Jose Almonte, who was the National Security Council Secretary, drafted a new constitution. The idea was to update the country's fundamental law, possibly making it more suited to the changing political and security landscape after the fall of the Marcos regime. However, the draft was leaked to the media before it could be fully debated or reviewed. Because of this early exposure, the public and government officials had mixed reactions, and the proposal was quickly dismissed. The failure here highlights how sensitive constitutional changes are, especially if they're not handled carefully in terms of timing and transparency. In 1997, the group Pirma attempted the People's Initiative to amend the Constitution, but Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago took it to court, and the Supreme Court ruled against it, stating a People's Initiative required an enabling law. In 1997, the group Pirma tried to use a People's Initiative, a process where citizens directly propose constitutional amendments. Pirma believed that there were urgent needs for constitutional reforms, particularly on economic issues. The idea was that the people could push for changes without waiting for Congress. However, Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago challenged this in court, arguing that the law required an enabling law, meaning a law that would set up the rules and procedures for how a people's initiative could happen. The Supreme Court sided with her, ruling that the law was indeed necessary to make the initiative valid. This decision showed that the constitutional changes can just be driven by popular opinion alone. There are legal processes that need to be followed. President Joseph Estrada formed a commission to study amendments focusing on economic and judiciary provisions. However, this effort was blocked. During President Joseph Estrada's time, he formed a commission to study and propose amendments to the Constitution, particularly focusing on economic and judiciary provisions. The goal was to make the country's system more efficient and help the economy by possibly easing restrictions on foreign investments. However, political tensions and other factors, including resistance from Congress and other interest groups, prevented the Commission's work from progressing. This effort showed even if there's a good plan to reform, it's often difficult to get it done due to a political resistance and other challenges. House Speaker Jose de Benicia proposed amendments to a constituent assembly, but controversy surrounding President Arroyo's administration stalled the effort. Later, House Speaker Jose de Benicia proposed using a constituent assembly to amend the Constitution. In this setup, members of Congress would work together to make changes to the Constitution. However, this approach faced significant opposition and controversy because it was seen as a way to give politicians too much power to change the Constitution to their advantage. The political climate, particularly under President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo's administration, was also a factor. Many people distrusted the government's motives for wanting constitutional changes at the time. This proposal shows that the constitutional reform isn't just about the process. The trust and political environment must also be in place for such efforts to succeed. House Speaker Feliciano Belmonte Jr. attempted to amend economic provisions for liberalization, but the initiative failed. House Speaker Feliciano Belmonte Jr. proposed amendments specifically to the economic provisions of the Constitution, aiming to liberalize the economy by allowing more foreign investments. The idea was that by opening up the economy, the Philippines could attract more business and create more jobs. Despite this effort failed to gather enough support in Congress and among the public, mainly due to concerns that foreign interests could take too much control over the country's resources. The failure here shows that even with good intentions, economic reforms in the Constitution can be controversial, especially when national sovereignty and the protection of local industries are at stake. Former President Duterte signed an executive order to create a consultative committee for the reviewing the 1987 Constitution. In 2016, President Duterte signed an executive order to form a consultative committee tasked with reviewing the 1987 Constitution. This committee was meant to examine whether there were necessary reforms to improve governance, address political issues, and further develop the economy. The committee was to propose changes based on consultations with experts, academics, and the public. However, despite the committee's creation, there has no been significant progress or clear outcome. The debate on constitutional amendments continues, and many question whether the country really needs a fully overhaul of the Constitution or if reforms could be done through smaller changes instead. This shows that even when a committee is established for consultation, the process can be slow and the public and political willingness for change is still uncertain. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching and listening. Ariga thanks.